tabloids decide on a certain narrative, and it's very hard for someone to break out of that. I read about Carolyn in 2019, so 20 years after the accident. I noticed a huge discrepancy between the way the tabloids wrote about her and the way people who knew her spoke about her. And it became very clear that she was part of a larger narrative that the culture wanted to have at the time. It was partly misogynist, partly jealousy, but what it turned out is this person was nothing like they made her out to be. Nothing is ever as it seems. She had no idea it was going to be that way when she first married John. Neither one of them thought it would be like that.
We're not writing John's life story as biographers. We're sort of showing you John through the voices and words of the people who knew him best. This book is an oral biography, which means it's all first-person vignettes about John. We probably did about I'm sure way over 200 interviews. We wove them together as sort of a kaleidoscopic view of who John was. And my partner Rose worked for John for 5 years and was with him every day.
It was an amazing opportunity, and I think the most important thing about it was when I reached out to people and I asked them to participate. It felt like enough time had passed that they felt like they were celebrating him rather than mourning him. And I felt the same way. Like, it was a celebration of his life, bringing him to a new generation as well.
One of the most interesting things that I remember was I spoke to a man named Narendra Taneja, who John had lived with in India. He didn't know who John was when he first met him. And he said, you have to remember with John that almost every day of his life, somebody is coming up to him to tell him a story about his father or his mother, but he is almost reminded on a daily basis of what he didn't have. And Narendra called it the void.
I remember him saying, you know, I don't know what I actually remember and what are just images that I've been bombarded with my whole life. So it was interesting to hear from people all the way from back in the White House. Throughout his entire life, there's this sort of thread of him kind of searching for this information and this emotional connection to his father.
What could have happened if John was still alive? Would he have run for public office? Might he have run for president? I mean, we don't know, and we don't want to be too presumptuous, but it was definitely something that he was talking about, you know, in these last years of his life. He might have run for the office of governor. He was really like such a good person, I think, and a good soul. And there's just a lot of warm, interesting, funny, surprising stories in the book.
The only way that people are remembered when they're gone is the stories that outlive them. And if people don't tell those stories, they're forgotten. And the last thing you want for someone that you love is for them to be forgotten. So tell their stories. It's really important.
Carolyn is often remembered as a fashion icon. And yes, her eye was impeccable, but really what she should be remembered for is she was a compassion-based person, as was John, and she was joyful. She had a wonderful sense of humor and was a caretaker. I hope many people who feel like there has been a narrative placed upon them and they hadn't quite found their voice. But keep in mind, Carolyn was quite young. She was only 33. This, I hope, is an encouragement for writers, libraries everywhere to support people to use their voice and to get the truth out there, because the truth is usually the better, happier narrative. We need to use the internet better. We need to grab hold of AI and make it work in a global way rather than a toxic herd mentality tearing one another down. Carolyn's story resonates today for that reason, and, you know, to quote RFK Sr., make gentler the life of this world.